You know, the letters on this screen, the ones we use every single day, they feel so simple, almost invisible. But what if I told you that hidden inside them is a 4,000-year-old story of revolution? A journey that kicked off in a dusty desert mine and ended up changing, well, pretty much everything about humanity. Our whole story really begins with a pretty strange question. What on earth does an ox have to do with the letter A? I know, it sounds a little bizarre, but the answer to that question is the key to unlocking one of the greatest inventions in all of human history. Okay, so check this out. On the left, you've got a simple drawing, a pictograph of an ox head from thousands of years ago. On the right, our modern capital A. Now, do me a favor. Flip that A upside down in your head. See it? You can almost make out the horns, can't you? The story of how one became the other, well, that's the story of the alphabet itself. To really get why the alphabet was such a total game changer, we have to rewind the clock. We need to look at the world before it existed, a world where writing wasn't for everyone. It was a tool reserved for the powerful. So before the alphabet, you had these incredibly complex writing systems, like Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian cuneiform. Each little symbol could be a whole word, or maybe a syllable. So to be able to read and write, you had to memorize hundreds, sometimes even thousands of these characters. This was not for your average person. It was a highly specialized skill, basically guarding all knowledge for a small, super-trained elite. And that just created this stark contrast. On one side, you have the old way, thousands of symbols, years and years to master, and a total knowledge monopoly for the elite. But on the other side, you've got this new alphabetic idea, just about 22 simple symbols that you could probably learn in a few weeks. It was designed to open up the world of writing to absolutely everyone. This wasn't just some small improvement. This was a full-blown revolution. So, where did this brilliant, world-changing idea even come from? Well, you might think it came from a king's court or some grand library, but nope. It came from a much dustier, much more practical place, the turquoise mines of the Sinai Peninsula. So picture this. It's around 1850 BCE. You're in a place called Sarabet el-Qadim. You've got these Semitic-speaking miners working right alongside Egyptians. And every day, they're seeing these complex Egyptian hieroglyphs carved into temple walls. They saw the power of writing, but they needed something, simpler for their own language. And right there, in that cultural crossroads, an idea sparked. And this was the idea. It's called the acrophonic principle, and its genius is just how simple it is. The idea was, instead of having a picture stand for a whole word, what if the picture only represented the very first sound of that word? So here's how that aha moment worked. Let's say you take a picture of a common object, like a house. In their Semitic language, the word for house was beit. The genius move was to just take the first sound of that word, the buh sound, and suddenly the picture of a house no longer meant house, it just stood for the sound buh. They did this for about 22 common objects, and boom, they had a symbol for every key sound in their language. Now, an idea this good, this useful, it wasn't going to stay hidden in some desert mine for long. This new system, which we now call Proto-Sinaitic, started to spread, to adapt, and to travel. And it did most of its traveling by sea. And this idea just took off. It starts in Sinai around 1850 BCE. Then it gets refined and standardized by the seafaring Phoenicians a few centuries later. Then around 800 BCE, the Greeks get their hands on it, and they make a really crucial addition. They add vowels. Finally, it travels over to Italy, where it evolves into the Latin alphabet that we still use today. The Phoenicians were really the super spreaders of this new invention. They were master sailors and traders, and they took their simple 22-letter alphabet all across the Mediterranean. It was the perfect tool for keeping records, for making deals, for communicating between different cultures. It turned a local idea into an international phenomenon. And what's so wild is that journey across the sea created a direct, unbroken line between those ancient Phoenician letters and the ones on your screen right now. They are all part of one huge global family. I mean, it's an incredible thought, isn't it? That one simple, 22-letter script, polished up by Phoenician traders over 3,000 years ago, is the great-great-great-grandparent to almost every modern alphabet used today, from English and Russian to Hebrew and Arabic. So you can think of the Phoenician script as the trunk of a giant family tree. One branch leads to the Aramaic script, which then gives us Hebrew and Arabic. Another branch leads to the Greek alphabet, which then splits into the Latin alphabet we use for English and the Cyrillic alphabet used for Russian. So yeah, when you type the letter A, you are finishing a 4,000-year-old journey that started with a picture of an ox head.
Okay, so why is this such a big deal? Why does all this matter? Well, because the invention of this simple system wasn't just a change in writing. It was a complete and total revolution for human civilization.
The alphabet's impact was just massive. It completely shattered the monopoly that elite scribes held over all information. It allowed everyday merchants to keep their own records, which helped trade to just flourish. And by making writing accessible, it laid the foundation for everything: complex law codes, timeless literature, and the philosophical questions that shaped the modern world.
When you boil it all down, the alphabet's greatest achievement was this: it democratized knowledge. For the first time in human history, the power of the written word was taken from the hands of the few and given to the many.
This single idea from a desert mine has shaped our world for nearly 4 millennia. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? As we move through our own era of rapid, crazy technological change, what's going to be the next great revolution in how we communicate? What's going to be our alphabet?